Hello crafters and welcome to Plan C, conversation about craft, creativity and connection. I'm Michelle Brown, Creative Director from Picture to Page and Beyond Papercraft Shows, which is our scrapbooking, mixed media art and paper crafting community, and I'm so excited that you're here to join us today. Now, Plan C is all about bringing you the best of our local retailers as well as some special guests and really talking about and getting in depth about creativity, connection, showing off some new products, sharing some new techniques with you, and of course, hearing from you. So whether you're watching live or you're watching a replay here on Facebook or in YouTube, let us know that you're here. Jump in the comments just like Jackie and Wendy and Florina have. Say hi, ask us any questions, and we'll really look forward to chatting with you this afternoon. Now, of course, for all the details of Plan C, what's come up, what's been in the past, what's coming up, head over to our website from picturetopageandbeyond.com.au. And while you're there, make sure you're on our email list, because then you'll be the very first to get all the information about our in-person shows, our online shows, and everything else that's happening with From Picture to Page Papercraft Shows. So today we're very excited because Plan C is chatting with Cathy from Eclectic Images. Hello, Cathy.
Hello, Michelle, and hello, everyone watching.
Oh,
So good to be here.
it is so good to have you here with us this afternoon. I can see you're in somewhere sunny today.
I am. Ballarat is sunny. It's still not, warm. It's still winter, but we have sunshine and just a light breeze, and I'm sitting outside on my mum's back deck, and it's all really good.
Oh, it sounds lovely. There is something lovely about sort of that inside-outside crafting, isn't there?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, take them anywhere.
Yeah, and the great thing, of course, about Plan C is that we've got plenty of time to have a chat. So I really did want to dig a little bit deeper and learn a bit more about Eclectic Images. So would you like to tell us just a bit about the history of it and how did you get started?
Well, I've been a stamper for 28 years, and I started just walking into a shop that sold stamps up in Queensland. I walked into the shop and saw someone doing gold embossing, and I went, wow, I could do that. And then went home, thought about it, did my first mail order for ink pads and stamps, and did the basic stamp, embossing gold, colour it with textures. That was me for a little while. Then I went to Geelong and found a shop called Rivendell Cottage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I met Fiona Grant, who still works with me on some shows. And Fiona showed me that stamping could be art. So I started doing classes with her, then moved into running classes and helping with demo days and stuff down there. And in those days, what is Paperific now was Melbourne Paper Arts.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very honoured when I was asked to help out with the stand for Rivendell Cottage at Melbourne Paper Arts. So that was all. I was having an absolute ball with all that, and then my business I had at that stage was beauty therapy, and I was starting to have more and more trouble with my wrists, and thought it's time to look for something else. And Matthew said, "Well, you love your stamping. Why don't we?" And I'd already started hand carving a few stamps. He said,
okay.
Why don't you make your own stamps?" So we looked into how it could be done, and at the same time, my sister had qualified for fashion design, and all her ladies that she'd drawn for her portfolio, I thought they have to be stamps. And then I thought, well, if I had my own range, I could have all her ladies. But with the ladies, and the fruits range was the double stamping with the solid stamp and the outline stamp with the pears. That was all part of the early inspiration. And we just went from there. And I designed stamps often inspired by photo. Well, if I'm working on animals, I do work directly from photos because I'm not actually that good at freehand drawing dogs and kangaroos and things like that. But a lot of stuff I look at flowers or swirls and things and think, how would I use that when I'm stamping? So I design things that I want to use when I'm stamping, and design things that if I look at a stamp, I want to be able to use it in a couple of different ways. So I try and make things that are very usable for people, which sometimes means that they're a little bit complicated. I'm hoping to do some YouTube things soon on our Venetian mask series of stamps, which the Venetian mask face was also one of the first hand-carved ones that I'd done, and that was for a competition for Melbourne Paper Arts.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, and I won the People's Choice part of the competition, which was lovely because I was very inspired when we went to Venice, the Venetian masks. Oh, my goodness. I just, yeah. So I came back and I've designed a whole series around them, but it's quite complex to use them. So I thought I might do a series of YouTubes going through the different patterns and different ways to colour them, and just showing people that it's actually not that hard. But when you look at all these different packets on the shelf, it doesn't make sense. And that's a bit of, it's why we've got into doing, one of the reasons we've got into doing the YouTubes was because a lot of my stamps don't make as much sense until you see them used. And once you've had a go with them, things like the willow that doesn't look like a willow tree, but it's got so many things you can do with it. And Jackie Keegan keeps coming up with new ideas of ways to use that willow stamp. So that's why it's good to actually have demonstrations at live shows, but also to have these online interviews and things and demonstrations where I can show how the stamps work.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think a lot of us would remember your ladies, and of course pairs were so big. What was that, late 1990s, I guess, 2000?
Yep.
And like you said, even, experienced stampers, you can sometimes look at a stamp and it can be hard to figure out exactly what it's going to look like, or, unless you sort of see the picture, really understand how you could use it in multiple ways.
And then I love being inspired by seeing someone else put up something and they've done something totally different to what I would have done with it. And that's fantastic.
It is. So where did the eclectic images sort of come from? Was that something that had always sort of been buzzing around in the back of your mind?
No, we threw a couple of names around and just sort of ummed and ahed over things. And eclectic seemed to sum up that the range was going to contain different images that were quite different. Because we're going the fruits, you've got the Venetian mask and you've got the ladies. And I was thinking about scenic stamps, Aussie scenes. I'm thinking we probably just threw the word eclectic in going, this is going to be such an eclectic range of product. And they went, eclectic. So I don't even remember how we thought of it. It was just part of one of those things you're throwing around all ideas, something that would cover a whole different range of images. And we put the images in so that to relate to them being pictures. To bring it back to stamping a bit. And then just when I was opening that up, there was a cafe opened in Ballarat called Eclectic Tastes. They used the font that I wanted to use for my logo.
Oh, wow.
A bit of an about face and find a new logo, which we had for the first 14 years of the business. And we've just this year done a new logo for the business, which we've now got on our apron. So I'm just going to scan down a bit so we can see our new logo.
We can see that. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I've gone with more the brush script look, which I love. And it goes along with a lot of our stamp designs are using that same brush script look. So it all sort of ties in together. Yeah. So we're looking at new uniform, we've just got jackets done, new logo and everything. So getting into a little bit of the branding, we get a bit professional. After 15 years, we might try and get professional.
Oh, I know, 15 years, we're starting to get grown up, aren't we?
Let's see if I can learn how to do this marketing thing.
Oh, my goodness, I know. Thankfully, a lot of your work speaks for itself, so that is handy.
I hope so, yeah. And it's lovely to be involved with these sort of communities where it means we can reach out and share this sort of stuff. I love it when customers send me pictures of what they've been making, and I still have plans to try and put a gallery site up on the website so I can actually show off what customers make.
Yeah, oh, lovely. And like you said, I mean, there's so many, bad sides of social media, but I think when you find a community like ours, it just shows that it's a great way to reach out, to feel connected and to learn.
Yep, I had a school friend that I got in contact with over Facebook and said something about craft. She said, I love craft, or I love Papercrafts. So next time we had a show coming up, I sent her the link and told her when it was going to be on. So hopefully some people in America might have watched it.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And so sort of your new releases, do you have sort of set cycles when you release them, or sort of how do you sort of expand your range?
I have plans. I have all these ideas up here that I'll never run out of. I try and grab some days here and there where I can do some drawings. At the moment, I've been working on some for the last 4 weeks. Well, it's been the last 4 weeks that I've been saying, I've got to send it off this week. I've got to send it this week. And I'm still going, but I could redo the elves and get those released for Christmas.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So definitely by the end of this weekend, that order will go over to America for all the stamps to be made. And that's going to be a re-release of a couple of older Christmas designs plus a new Christmas phrase.
Ooh.
I've got an idea for a new kangaroo Christmas one, but I don't know whether I'll get it done over the weekend or not. But anyway, so there's that. And there's a new rosebud another dream catcher, the dream catcher mandala that we've been talking about. That's going to be with that release. So it's just when I get them done, I do try and have a new release for Paperific each year, and I have often tried to have another new release ready for Sandown. So that's two of my big shows that I try and get some new stuff ready for. But it really just depends on how crazy my life has been with either my day job or with the theatre productions that we get involved with, and just whether I've actually had time to sit down and actually do the drawings. And it's not just doing the drawing, it's also then getting it all, and I now have a tablet so that I can, with a drawing program, so I can get it all nice and crisply drawn rather than just a pencil sketch. Then it goes into the computer. Then I have to actually lay out as many of that image on a 8x12 sheet as I can, because the more times I can get it on that sheet, the cheaper the price is for my customers.
Yeah.
So if I can only get two designs off a sheet, they're going to be $60 stamps. If I get 20, it brings the cost right down to people. So I'm trying to get, I usually aim, even with the bigger designs, trying to get 6 on a sheet, and that keeps us around that $19 price bracket. So yeah, that can take me a whole day of doing Tetris.
Yeah, I imagine it would. So I guess I was going to ask you, I guess you've answered it. Sort of, do you set aside time to do that initial concepts and drawing and then transitioning it through? Or like you said, is it just got a show coming up, this is the lead time, let's just see what we can get done?
That's right. Let's see what I can get. What ideas can I get happening now? I might in between times be working on a few sketches, like the Rosebud. I'd been working on it for ages, and then finally went, you've got all these different sketches, just pick one. And then I sent them out to the other girls that often work with me on shows and said, look, I've done these 3 sketches. I've mashed them all together. What do you like? And we all picked out the bits of them that we liked, and I put that together, and that's the final design. So sometimes it's me having trouble deciding on what I want to do. But mostly, I mean, I'll often, now that I've got the tablet, I'll take it places and I'll be sitting in a waiting room somewhere and I'm just doing drawings on it, just getting ideas down that I can then turn into something. But the actual time sitting at the proper computer at home on Photoshop, actually getting it finalised, that's where I have, and I have plans to have releases, and it never works.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'll get together some designs. So if I can do 2 or 3 releases in a year, I'm doing really good.
Oh, good. Yeah. And like you said, there's sort of so many different trends that come and go in sort of stamping and paper crafts. Where do you sort of see the industry going over the next 6 to 12 months?
There's so much variation in it at the moment. Very much both with what people are doing with alcohol inks and what they're doing with stamping inks. Things like my range, things like Lavinia, and there's a few other scenic type stamp ranges where lots of these beautiful moonlit scenes and things like that. Lots of detailed stamping. Not so much of the colouring, more colouring your backgrounds.
Oh, okay.
And I see a lot of people working with that with alcohol inks, like using the lift-off technique, and with using your gel presses. So creating backgrounds and then working with stamps to create your images over the top.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm seeing more. I'm not in the scrapbooking scene as much as I was. But I see a little bit of stamping products being used in scrapbooking, but I think more and more people are getting back into card making, and certainly into the journals and the mixed media, and incorporating all of our inks and our stamps and our products in that. So I think that the it got called off the page, but looking for other things that we can decorate and stamp on. I feel that's where things are going. We saw a lot of things when scrapbooking came out and some of the beautiful papers, and then you had companies like Kaisercraft making all the craft wood things that you could decorate up. And we've now got other companies doing that. And one of them, though, I was going to say, has just gone whoosh out of my head. Andrew and Sophie.
Scrap mats, yeah.
They make some fantastic 3D stuff that you can decorate up. But it was, for a start with, it was just papers. But now I'm seeing people using more inks and embellishments and mixed media techniques on those 3D objects. So I think we're going to see stamping and inks going in more different directions. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I guess because we're not having sort of the big trade shows anymore, we're not having that sort of bringing together ideas, but like you said, they're sort of developing in different areas. But again, the great thing I love about Papercrafts is that it doesn't matter really what the technique is, as long as you're using the right sort of materials and substrate, you can apply it to anything.
yes, yeah, and there's so many of the inks are so versatile with what they can, something like the Versamagics that we did a few sessions with last year with the live sessions. They can be used on wood, they can be used on fabric, they can be used on paper. So that opens up a whole lot of different projects that you can work on with them.
Yeah. And that's what we say, you just get to know your own art supplies and try it on a small piece. Like, obviously don't, bet the farm when you're starting out, but just try them and see what works and what doesn't work, and that's how you learn.
Yep. I've just refilmed another YouTube this morning to go up next weekend, and I had an idea for a watercolor card, and it took me 3 or 4 goes before I got the background anything like what I wanted it to be. You have an idea in your head, but it doesn't always actually come out that way when you try and put it on paper.
Yeah. And I think it's reassuring for everyone to know that, like you said, regardless of how long you've been doing it, it all still is a bit of trial and error and having a play and seeing what happens.
Especially when you are testing materials out and trying to do something a bit out there and try different angles at things, you're going to get things that, are failures, but you look at it and go, okay, well, I can die cut something out of that bit of card and it will still look pretty. Or I can, if you're working on something for alcohol inks, I can just wipe it clean and start again. And a lot of mixed media stuff. I've got a canvas that I started doing something on, didn't like it. I'm just going to gesso over it and start again.
Yeah, very forgiving.
Yeah. So there's a lot of craft stuff where you've got to try it. If you've got an idea, you've got to have a go, and it might not work.
Yeah, you got to let yourself have a play. Now, you mentioned YouTube channel, and also we love your videos. So, how did you get such beautiful video production?
I have a cameraman for a husband.
How handy! We all need one of those.
I know, he's very useful to have around, and he only interrupts occasionally with smart comments, so it's really good. But yeah, so his background is TV camera work, and he's been working as an audiovisual technician for the last 12 years or so. But what we found initially, we had lots of customers at shows saying, we see you do the demos and we go home and we forget what you've done. So can you do some YouTube? But in those days, his cameras were too high a quality, and we couldn't, whatever we'd film, we couldn't get it to the quality that you have to sort of almost dumb it down a bit so that it's a file size that can be uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah.
And he was filming at a quality that was almost more broadcast quality. And then at the start of, near the start of last year, just when the lockdown was happening, he got onto this lovely little bit of switching equipment that actually you can feed it out you can film it, the camera footage goes into it, and it comes out, and you save it on a laptop or USB at YouTube quality. So it just does it for us. That way we can still use all his quality cameras, but it's coming out at the quality that we need, that we can actually load it up. So that just opened up this whole new world for us.
Yeah.
And, of course, he's got beautiful big studio lights. He films with 2 cameras, so he has a wide shot and then he has the close-up one, which means he can get so close that you can see the embossing powder rise up. And by doing it that close, I've had several customers have said it feels like they're in a one-on-one class with me.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
That's wonderful. I love it.
Yeah.
And it's lovely feedback that we're getting. It'll take me a while to build up our following. Like, we're still, I look at some others and they'll, someone loads something up and they get 1,000 views in the first couple of hours they've loaded, and I get 30. It'll take me a while to actually build up a following that way. But it's just a matter of just getting it out there that it's there.
Yeah.
And hopefully spreading the word.
Yeah, excellent. And it has been fascinating, like you said, with all the pandemic restrictions and being in lockdown. And in a way, the technology has almost come to meet us at this point in time, which just has made it so much easier to connect with people.
I have so much respect for all the techies that must be, all the IT nerds, that must be working around the clock. And, I mean, at the start of the pandemic, we were suddenly saying teachers needed a way to teach from home. Everyone needed a way to take their office home and still have their meetings and things like that. And suddenly the IT was there, which means that they were planning and working that far ahead And when people said, oh, but we need to be able to do live and in person and online, suddenly they had the technology there.
Yeah.
So they were anticipating what we were going to need. So I think I've got a great deal of respect for the IT guys.
Yeah,
I think
definitely. I mean, even 5 years ago when you got a laptop with a camera on it, I remember thinking, why in the world are we going to need laptops with cameras? Like, why are we going to need that? And I mean, like, we're using it all the time.
Right. It's incredible. That technology is just so supportive of us. Even though we get so frustrated at it and want to throw our computers out the window and things like that. But we just couldn't be doing all this without it.
Exactly. We'd all be very, very, even more despondent, I think, and lonely than we currently are.
Yeah, it's so nice to be able to, by seeing comments and feedback and stuff and talking with people like I am with you and getting responses to YouTube things that we do or even Facebook posts. It just gives you that human connection that we still need.
Exactly. And look, and that's what we always remind our community. You know, you mightn't think it's worth much, but a like or a love or a comment, it means so much to us as small business owners. We see everyone.
Yeah, we do. We check everything. I try and always read everybody's comments and put a like on them or a comment back to them if it's a question or just something that I really, really touches me, tickles my fancy. I'll make a comment on it. So, I do go over all of it because I love that feedback because it is that connection that I don't get when I'm not doing the shows. And I do find too that doing the live stuff means that I'm sure there'll be a couple of my customers from New South Wales and Queensland that'll be watching today. Now I don't even know if I'm going to get up to Queensland this year for a show.
Yes, we certainly don't. And also I think it's a way that we can connect sort of a bit more because shows, like you said, while they're great in person, they can be very busy and fleeting and you just, you know, when you're demonstrating, there's just a wave of faces and like sometimes I don't think I'd even recognise my own mother at shows sometimes. So it's nice to be able to sort of sit down and have that one-on-one time.
And I have found we did a show in Canberra earlier this year. We actually got to one and a lady came up and I recognised her face from shows, but I couldn't put a name. And she said, and she told me her Facebook name. And I went, oh my goodness! And so we made the connection there. And yeah, that's lovely to then connect the people that you've been chatting with. Now when I see her at a show, I'll know exactly who she is because of all the Facebook chats we've had.
Yeah, exactly. And you're kind of not picking up from the 12 months you were there last time. It's picking up from where you had that last chat.
And I'm not good with remembering names over that length of time. Not good at all.
Exactly. So what are you going to share with us today, Cathy?
Okay, I'm going to do a quick flip of the camera and show you the card and the inks that we're going to be using.
Okay, we'll give Cathy a minute to get ready. So hello Christine, hi Mary, hi Val. It is so great to have you all with us today and we are so looking forward to Cathy's demonstration. It is always just delightful. Okay Cathy, I will hand over to you. Take it away.
Okay, so this is the card we're going to make today. So I'm using colours out of the new Catherine Pooler ink release called Beach Resort, but I decided to use some different colours using the oranges with the blues, which is a bit more unusual. So the new colours the new 4 are these ones. How divine are those? Sparkling Berry, Merlot, Serene and Clay Mask. And that goes with the 4 that were released about a month ago, which is Tranquil, Cove Blue, Sea Glass and Bay Breeze. So this collection forms what they call the Beach Resort collection. They're all in the Spa collection range, which is the more muted tone. So Catherine Pooler has so many different inks. She has the Party range, which is all the strong, bright colours or bright dyeing. They're all dye inks, but they're the clear, bright colours. Whereas the Spa collection has more of a grey undertone. So it gives you sort of softer, more muted colours. But this colour chart, she's got a colour wheel for both the Party collection and the Spa collection. And what it does is it shows you how her colour families are fitting together. So you can see in these orangey yellows there's going to be some more colour releases happening. Whereas you come round to the blues and we've now got Tranquil, Stone Blue, Cove Blue and Juniper Mist. So all those colours are so beautiful for doing, like we did in the Geelong Picture to Page class. We use those blues and we use the Bay Breeze and the Sea Glass. So you can easily see on this colour wheel what colours go together. And we can see this new Merlot colour fits in with our rose petals and pink champagne that we've got. The Sparkling Berry fits in with Sangria, which I love. And the Clay Mask, you think, oh, that's a bit of an odd colour on its own, but it fits in with the Polished, which is already a colour. Right? So although the release, you think, oh, there's some different colours, you can actually, when you look at the colour wheel, start to see how these colours are all fitting in together. And the colour wheels are both available on the website as a free download. So you can
Oh,
just
fantastic.
and just download those and print them off. Now, there is some other Catherine Pooler tools that I'm going to be using in the video. One is this new ink stand,
Ooh.
and they're magnetic, so you can stick them together. So you can lay your ink pads in those so they don't move around on your desk when you ink your brushes. She also has some brush sets now. So I've still got the ones that I'll be selling that are a little bit bigger size. These are quite a small one. But with the white bristles, it means it's so easy to tell what colour goes for what brush goes for what colour, because they'll stay a little bit tinted. So I'll be using those in the demo. Now, the other new product from Catherine Pooler that's coming out that I don't have in, but it's going to be on its way soon, and that's the previous Spa collection, the Urban Oasis, is now being released as minis.
Ooh, oh, that's a fantastic way to get a few colours together.
Yep, that's the full-size pads there. But, yes, they'll be coming out as the minis, and I'll get those in stock real soon. And that's a great way, because if you've been collecting, so that means now that we've got 3 sets of 8 in the Spa collection, all available as minis, and that's a much easier way for people to collect the colours. But you can always get the full-size ones off me as well if you want to.
Yeah.
And re-inkers. And that's one thing I really like about this particular range of inks. It works on gloss card, it works on matte cardstock, you can watercolour with them. The black ink you can stamp and the midnight black, and it dries waterproof. So you can watercolour over that with these. So you can actually paint with these ones, which would be doing a bit of that in this card that we do today. But also you've got big ink pads, you've got minis, and you've got re-inkers. So you've got, and having those re-inkers is so important, just so that you keep the most use out of your pads.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I think we could actually head into doing the class if you like.
Okay, hold on everyone. We will jump into the video.
Hi, I'm Cathy from Eclectic Images, and thanks for joining me today. Today's tutorial, I'm going to be playing with some of the new Catherine Pooler ink colours, which are just gorgeous, and also some of the new accessories, plus a few different stamp sets, and creating a lovely floral card with a earthy, denim-y sort of colour theme. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so our stamps that we're using today are going to be from Eclectic Images. We'll have the Magnolia Blooms set. Let me move that into shot. And we'll just be using a couple of the flowers and one of the leaves out of that. But then combining it with the Beati Perfect Petals set, which is similar but a little bit more old world feeling. I think it's going to make a great team, these two stamp designs. And then we'll put a few brush words in there as well. Now, our ink colours. We're going to be working with, these are the new ones out of the Beach Resort collection. They're in the Spa collection ink, so they're all the more muted tones. And we've got Clay Mask, Serene, Sparkling Berry, and Merlot. I mean, how cool are those colours? Plus, we used a bit of Versamark for some embossing. And our embossing powder is the Ranger Vintage Pearl, which is a lovely creamy colour with a bit of a gold sheen to it. Really pretty for more of an old world looking card or a softer looking card. Now, the other things we're going to play with is some of the new Catherine Pooler blending brushes. So this is a set of 4 smaller size blending brushes, but also the Catherine Pooler, I've forgotten what they've actually called it, but it's a working tray. So it's a tray for holding your ink pad in place while you're doing your blending. And the really cool thing is if you have 2 of them or more, they're actually magnetic, so they'll sit together on your desk without moving while you're working with them. So we're going to use those while we're doing our background blending, but we'll first start off with a little bit of painting on our stamped piece. I've already stamped and embossed in the Vintage Pearl on our bit of cotton blend cardstock. So you can just see that little bit of a sheen of gold there. And we're going to paint using our aqua wash brushes, but using the ink colours that we're working with. And I've decided that I'm going to team together. I had a lot of trouble deciding which colours to play with. Oh, I'll just show you first where I have actually stamped out the 4 new colours. So that's the Serene, the clay mask, sparkling berry, and the Merlot. I mean, how cool are all these going to be to use together? But I think today I'm going to actually, the colours team with different ones in the Spa collection. So the clay mask has teams with the polished, which is one that was already in the collection. So that's what we're going to use for doing our flowers. But we might add a little bit of Merlot in there as well. Not quite decided yet, but I'm going to team those with the Tranquil and Cove Blue that are also out of the Beach Resort collection. So this makes up the 8 new inks, with the Cove Blue, Tranquil. There's also Sea Glass and Bay Breeze, some more bluey greeny tones, and then mixing in these lovely pinks and apricots as well. So let's do some painting. So I'm going to put out my colours just on my craft mat. So that's a bit of polished and clay mask. That's what that sits in there. Okay, and we might add that touch of Merlot in there as well. Ooh. Just turn your card around as you need to so that you're always tackling it at a really good angle for you. Now we've got another back petal. Now I'm choosing to do those back petals a bit darker, but you don't have to. You could do them all in the same colours if you wanted to. Just clean my brush, push that water in. Any music happening, Matthew? Oh, good. I couldn't hear it. I'm thinking it sounds awfully quiet when I'm not talking, but
it's because it's not raining today.
Gosh, it's midwinter here. We've had so much rain. Okay, that is looking lovely and delicate. So now we just need to add some to our second bloom. just going to colour a few petals at once on this one. Just because you don't need to be spending the whole video watching me watercolour. Let's just give that a little bit of lighter colour on there. A bit lighter on that one. And we might make the petals on the inner part of this one a little bit deeper. Often your flowers, your newer petals that are just emerging are a richer colour than the ones that have already sprung out. Is it Magnolia time of year in Ballarat now? Have we missed it?
It's just coming up.
Every year I go around and try and take photos of magnolias and
Found a whole bunch on the computer yesterday.
just to get some more inspiration for colours and... Okay. Now I'm just going to come back to clean my brush off and just come back and grab that bit of Merlot and just pop it in the centre of that one. Maybe just a touch in there. Just to make that, give it a bit more interest there. Maybe that's too much, let's pull it back a little bit. So if you want less, just wipe your brush over it, wipe it off on your scrap and then go back. And you can actually move the colours around a bit till you get them looking just how you want them. So lovely and soft. Okay, while that's drying, let's get rid of this colour, but the way I'm going to do that is just grab my spritzer bottle, because I often say, while you've got colours on the mat, you can actually create several backgrounds. So I happen to have a piece that I've already embossed with our dream catcher. I'm just going to give that a spritz and just wipe it through our colours that we've got here and make the most of having those colours on our mat and see what we can create as a background. So rather than wasting where we'd put those inks to paint with them, we're actually going to make something else out of them. Let those colours flow a bit. Where's my bit of paper towel? I'm just going to towel that off a bit and then come in and add some more. Okay, so creating quite a bit. Obviously I've got some other colours on my craft mat because we're getting some blues coming through there. Guess who didn't clean her craft mat so well after playing with shimmer dust, I think. But I'm going to just leave that to one side to dry. Now I'll clean my mat up. So that way, just if you've been doing some painting or something and using your mat as a palette, don't waste the inks, make another background. And that could just be done, I mean, I'd already embossed that piece, but yeah, I could have just put a bit of card in and then use that later, put it to one side, used it later as another background. So now we're going to create a background piece for the one that we've just been working with. So I'll grab a bigger piece of card, which I did put here. Okay. Now I'm choosing to go with colours today that aren't what you would normally put together, going with oranges and blues, but I just thought the denim-y blue colour of the Tranquil and the Cove blue just lend themselves towards going with anything. They go well with green tones, with purple tones, with pink tones. I thought, let's mix it up a little bit and pop them with the orange tones instead. So we're going to use our little tray bits here. So you can pop your lid in there so you keep track of what your colour is. Pop your ink pad in there. They've got little sticky feet underneath to help to stop them from walking all over your table. Just pop that one together. And I'm going to work with Tranquil. So I'll pop that one in there. Now, the Catherine Pooler brushes. The Catherine Pooler brushes are a white bristled brush, which I think is going to be great for using with your lighter colours. So the brushes that I normally sell are a black handled one and a darker bristled one. So what I'm going to do is keep my Catherine Pooler ones more for my lighter colours, because the bristles will stain with the inks and I'll be able to very easily see what colour I've been using them with. But because they're lighter, they might be harder to clean out darker colours from them. So I think they're going to suit the softer colours and stick with using things like my number 10 brushes or the other blending brushes for the deeper colours. So let's see how we go with that. So I'm going to start off picking up some of the clay mask and just start working on our scrap on our craft mat and then onto the piece. Or because I know this is just going to be a border, so our main panel will sit in here, I can actually work from here and work out if I want to as well. Because if I get a blob there, it's not going to matter. It will be covered once we layer our cards together, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm looking at just creating a patchy look, but I still want the colours to blend in together. So I'm still popping the colour where I want it and then smoothing it out on either side, which gives me room to blend my bluey tones over it. And just to stop me getting any finger marks anywhere, I'm just going to grab a bit of paper towel, and as I turn the card around, I'll use that to hang on to it so that I don't get finger marks on it and get my fingers in the inks.
I thought that's why you did this.
I do usually get very inky, don't I? But I'm trying to be a little bit tidier today. And of course, if you get any ink building up on your mat, you can pick that up as well and shade that on. So they do give a really nice soft blended look, these brushes. You know, the combination of the ink and the brush is softening out really nicely, which gives you lovely areas to blend your other colours back in. But if you want the colours deeper, you are going to be able to build up richer tones just by layering it up. Okay, now let's switch to our Tranquil, which is our really soft blue. Now I'm just going to give the mat a little bit of a wipe because there may have been some of the clay mask as I was working on. Some would be on the mat, as you can see, and I don't want to be picking that up with my blue ink. So I'm just going to switch my paper towel over to a clean part and start working with this blue colour. So it's a really soft, smoky sort of blue. It's just a little bit different, putting colours that you wouldn't normally put together. But I have plans for it. Matthew doesn't look convinced, but I've got in my head where I'm going with this card. That is really cool, having those just fixed there so that they don't run away on you at all. That would actually work really well too if you were just picking up a bit of colour on a brayer or something where ink pads tend to move around. These would hold them nice and securely. Just moving around till I've got all that border area covered. I'm not trying to cover the middle area at all because, as I said, we're going to be mounting our main piece of our card on that. This is just our background. Okay. So it looks a little bit blotchy. I mean, the edges are all nice and soft, but it's just the colours aren't as compatible as what we would usually use, but that's okay because we're going to bring some stamping into that and start tying it all together. So let's get the Beati stamps that we're going to use. So this is the Perfect Petal set. And for this part, when I'm stamping, I am going to bring my scratch pad up just so I can stamp off my edges and things. So move those forward a bit. Okay. And grab some acrylic blocks. And we'll start off stamping in the same colours that we've, just in the blue tones, so with the same soft blue, and then I might come in with a bit of the next shade Actually, in this set, there's actually 4 shades. So there's actually Stone Blue, then Cove Blue, then Juniper Mist. So it goes through the 4 shades. But I think we'll just jump to Cove Blue. So let's start off with a little bit of our Tranquil. Now this is going to be the challenge, isn't it? Getting your ink pads back out of those. I think I will just ink up nice soft taps there and worry about getting it out later. So now you can start to see with this lovely old world looking image how it's just those colours are just going to start to work. So I'll just put a few of them on, clean on my cloth, and switch to one of the other blossoms. And now I'm going to bring in this Cove Blue. I'm a little bit nervous it's going to be too dark. I'm going to stamp it in the middle so I can see whether I'm happy with it. See, I think that's a bit too dark. So let's ink up, stamp off once on our scrap and bring it in second generation. That's better. I'm not worried about how this bit's looking because that's the part that's going to be covered. I think that's enough. I said that word, didn't I? That's enough. It's a bit out there for me, isn't it? Okay, give my stamp a bit of a white clean. So now we can have a look at that with our other piece on top and you can see how that background's working. Let me turn it around the way it's going to go so you can see it. But I'm going to grab our Cove Blue and do some shading around the outer edge of both pieces. So for this I'm going to switch to my slightly darker brush and we're going to come in and shade around this one. So mainly at the outer edges and just bring it in softly just as much as we want to. Okay, same on this piece. Just realising I'm going to need more of these trays so I can have more of my ink pads out on them. And as you get this extra colour on, those other 2 colours are starting to really work together. And I'm a bit worried that I'm getting inky fingers again, so let's grab a bit more paper towel. Rightio. So that's getting a really nice blend to it. I'm going to leave the Cove Blue out for a moment so that I can do some extra stamping with it. That's our background piece. So on this piece, I'm going to mask those 2 flowers, which means I've got to discover where I put my masks, but here they are, just to one side. So this is where I've already stamped the flowers onto a post-it note. You can see they've been used multiple times. And then we can just pop that over the top of our little blossoms there. And we've got one for that bud as well. So now I'm going to use one of the leaves out of the set with the Cove Blue. Remember when you're stamping with these ink pads, it's just such a gentle touch. Just going to bring a few leaves out from there. And maybe one coming over the top. Trying to work out which way I want to put it. I might pop it out that way. In fact, we're going to have another one. I know I normally like odd numbers, but I just think we need something else wrapping around there. All right, odd numbers, we'll bring another one across there. Okay. And now our words that we're going to use out of the brush script Believe set. And I'm just going to have a look. I want to put Believe in Yourself. So I've got to make sure that when I stamp Believe in there, that I'm leaving room for that down there. Or what we could do is actually stamp this bit first. So really light tap. Stamp that one in first, and then we know that there's room for it. Or I could get schmancy, couldn't I, and ink up on two colours. Let's just tap that across. The top half of it is going across our Tranquil, and then the bottom half is going to go across our Cove Blue. And there'll be quite a line at the moment, so I'm just going to grab my dark blue brush and just go over where those two colours are meeting so that it blends them in together. And I actually want the word to look like it's coming out from underneath the flowers. So by having those flowers masked, this word is going in behind them. And I'm not happy there because I missed the top of the L. And I haven't got this in my stamping platform. So I'm going to have to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to ink up that top of the word again. Line it up very carefully.
I feel like I should put a drum roll on this.
And hope it's in the right spot. Yay, yay. I love it when a plan comes together. Let's lift those masks out of there, and so that word is now peeking out from underneath our blossoms. That's pretty cute. Now the only other thing I wanted to do was add on this background piece, add a little bit of texture into it. So we're going to get, I think I'll go with the polish. No, let's try going first with the clay mask colour. I'm just going to tip it out of there so that I can stamp with it. So pick up that, and I've got my Splatter Stamp. Now the Splatter Stamp is made with a more concentrated area which will go with very soft inks and build up some background colour. But for this I want more of the open splatter look. And we'll see how much it shows up. So we just ink that up and just start stamping in. Just give it that little bit of dotty texture. So I'm stamping it once near the edge and then stamping it in again a bit further in so we get a slightly stronger splatter and then a softer one. So stronger on the outside, and I turn the stamp around so I get different parts of the pattern coming out. And that's fine. I'm just going to switch to the more solid end and just give a little bit right on the edges. Both these stamps and these inks, this is just making me really keen to try the other colours, the other newer colours, particularly that Merlot. I think I'll have to do another video very soon where I play with the Merlot. Okay, let's, out of our little tray holder, get the lid to that one and pop it away. And I'll move my scratch pad out of here and we can have a look at the two bits together and see how we've gone. So there's using quite a non-traditional colour mix. Just going to give that a little bit of a flatten out so it sits a little bit better there. We could have a look at that and think, is that okay like that? I think we possibly need a little bit of a border. So I think before I mount it up, probably put it with a little bit of extra cotton blend here, just to give it that little, just a very small border between those two layers. I think will work a little bit better. We could also check with using it with maybe some recycled cardstock to see, because we've used these soft apricot-y tones, the recycled cardstock could make a lovely border as well. But I think I'm liking a lighter border with it. So when I mount it up, I'm going to pop that one in and then layer it up on there. But how cool do those colours look together? The other thing, I think we need a little bit of a shadow in around some of those petals. See how the flowers aren't quite standing out enough? So if we wanted to add a shadow in there, there's two different ways we could do it. We could get and we can go with the Tranquil Blue to keep it nice and soft. So let's get that out and put a little bit on our craft mat. And I'm going to tip the lid out of here as well so I can, again, pop the lid on there. It's always safer to have lids on your ink pad so you don't stick your fingers or your elbows into them. Now we could just use our fine aqua brush. Make sure it's got a little bit damp but not too much. Pick up some of that colour and just very softly, I'm too wet, very softly pop a little bit of colour, just that little bit of shadow around the edge of those petals. Just because that's such a soft embossing colour, it needs a little bit of depth around it just to pick it up and make it show a little bit more. But because we've done some background shading there, we've got to be careful because those inks are water soluble. So if we put water over where we've done our shading, it could create puddles into that, which it's already doing for us. So I'm going to actually have to make something of that. So let's put a whole lot more water into it and make it look like we want it to be all watercolory. So I'm just going to push some of that background colour around until it meets in with our petals.
You can say bye-bye and finish this and show them finished product.
I could. Oh, we're up to half an hour already. Oh, I'm sorry. We've gone way too long. I just want to show one other thing that we could do for our shading to create a little bit of background colour around that, and that's putting the mask back over the flower. Pop the mask on. And we could just use a brush, and I'll just grab the one that we were working with before, even though it's a little bit big. But we're just going to shade from the mask out a little bit. And that will just, see how that's just given us a very soft shadow there that just makes that flower come out a little bit more. The other last little touch I want to do is with those leaves, just run my water brush around the inner edge of each of those leaves, and it's just going to, because the Catherine Pooler inks are water reactive, it just means it'll just soften. And can you see the difference between that leaf and this one? See how that's just brought that colour into it a little bit? So if we just do that around our leaves, it's just going to soften those and make it fit in with the background better. Okay, so I think that's enough. I will have a bit more of a play and add a bit more shadow to those, mount them up, and then put a picture up for you to see. So thank you for being with me today and having a go at this, and we'll show you the finished one in just a moment. Hopefully you can join me soon for another play and we'll mess around with some of the other colours. Okay, thanks for watching.
Well, we hope you all joined us. Now, Cathy, what have you got to show us there?
Well, I did actually. I really liked how that shading was looking, shading with the dry brush over the mask. So I actually did go into that card and added a little bit more of the shading around that flower. So you can just see it's actually brought that flower out a lot more. So to me, that worked better than the watercolouring that I started off doing around the petals. That, just so leaving the mask on and just dry shading was better. The other thing that I've got to show is when I used up the excess inks doing an extra background. I finished that one off and turned that one into a card as well.
Oh,
so this
that's
one is
beautiful.
Thank you. It's using the Dreamcatcher stamp. This is a birthday card for my gorgeous Siobhan. She designed the Dreamcatcher. So I did the same sort of colours in the background. Mind you, it was her birthday earlier in the week and she's had to wait for a card so I could use it today. That's what it is, being the daughter of a stamper.
Yeah.
And I also added in some rose gold liquid pearls for the little pearly drops there, which just brings that up beautifully.
That is beautiful.
So that's our 2 cards that we've made today from those same Catherine Pooler colours and the same techniques. Yeah. And I think we're just going to flip the camera back, aren't we?
Yep, let's do that. Excellent. Well, we hope you enjoy that, and thank you for sticking with us. And wasn't it just lovely to see Cathy go through all those steps and bring those colours together? And again, they're colours that we may not have thought about mixing before, but I thought that was a real treat and a beautiful outcome. So, Cathy, thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
No, my pleasure. I loved it. It's really good to challenge yourself. I'm not an orange person usually, so it's really good for me to get out of my comfort zone and try something else. And thank you very much, Michelle, for putting us on air again, because we love getting out to all the P2PCrafts group and being able to connect and able to have some crafty fun.
Yeah, I think there was something a little bit nostalgic about that colour. Maybe it was the 80s applique peach jumper I might have had that my mum made me that sort of makes it a bit, feel very nostalgic.
Yeah, and I think putting that vintage pearl colour for the embossing made it look a little bit more old world, and nice.
Because initially it did look quite gold, but when you showed it in power form, it was really quite pearlescent. So I like how they've combined those 2 elements together.
Yeah, it's very nice. The silver pearl and the vintage pearl, really pretty.
Excellent. Now, was there anything else you needed to share with us today, Cathy?
No, I think I've probably talked enough to everybody today.
Yeah, and you mentioned you didn't quite have anything on the website yet, but it will still be there the next day or 2.
Oh, yes. Actually, with everything that we've shown today with the new products, I'll be putting all those up on the website tonight with some special offers as well. So maybe leave it till tomorrow before you pop on and have a look, and then we'll have some extra Catherine Pooler specials there for you.
Oh, fantastic. Excellent, Cathy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Michelle. It's been lovely.
Excellent. Well, we hope you did enjoy that. And of course, support Cathy. Go and check out her website, Eclectic Images. The link is here in the notes, as well as her YouTube channel. So help Cathy get to those fantastic YouTube numbers. Hit subscribe. And then as the videos come out, you'll know that they're there and you'll be able to go full deep dive into Cathy, all her beautiful eclectic image stamps and those beautiful inks and the blending, and just makes our hearts sing. So thank you so much for joining us here at Plan C today. Like we said, we're here to talk about craft, connection and creativity. So head over to our website from picture2pageandbeyond.com.au where you can see who's been on Plan C, who's coming up, get in touch with all the retailers, and like we said, even if you're not buying from them, share their socials, comment, let them know that you're there, and of course continue to encourage us so we can help inspire you. So this is Michelle signing off. We hope you have a crafty day.